For centuries, the predator has been the undisputed champion of the hunt, a master of tracking and a bringer of death. But what if there's something out there that even it can't comprehend? Could the universe's deadliest hunter finally meet something that truly scares it, turning the hunter into the prey? The hunt had brought the predator far beyond the fringes of mapped space. Known only by coordinates in a dead star's wake, the planet was catalogued as PX41 Theta, a desolate orb with no signs of fauna, no atmosphere to speak of, and no reason for interest except one. Something had sent a pulse, not a signal, but a ripple in gravity, as if the very fabric of space-time had shivered in agony. The Yautja ships had intercepted it. To most, it was a cosmic anomaly, but to the predator it was a challenge. A siren call to a being bred for conquest, for war, for the hunt. Touchdown was simple. The landscape sprawled out before the predator in shades of dark slate and pale crimson, the ground brittle and sharp like shattered bone. It activated its thermal scanner. Flatline. Nothing living within the range of its advanced biohelmet systems. Yet still, something pulled it forward. The feeling wasn't instinct, it was intrusion. Something aware. Something waiting. It moved silently, cloaked and ready, the triple red dots of its shoulder cannon flickering into calibration. But it wasn't long before it noticed something strange. The environment wasn't just empty, it was wrong. Trees, or what passed for them, stood frozen mid-bend, like a photograph caught in a half-rendered glitch. Shadows fell in impossible directions. Gravity felt subtly different every few hundred feet, as if physics was a suggestion, not a law. Tracks would normally be a hunter's delight. Broken branches, disturbed soil, heat trails. But here, nothing responded as expected. The predator knelt beside what looked like an impression in the soil, but the second it focused, the image swam and blinked away. Not a print, glitch, or a memory. It tried its full spectrum of vision, thermal, ultraviolet, X-ray. None of them made sense. Each vision mode rendered the world differently, each more chaotic than the last. Thermal showed cold shapes that moved like flickers behind the rocks but vanished the moment they were observed. UV brought no comfort either, just swirling storms of static and light dancing in mockery of biological signatures. It clicked in frustration, checking its systems for interference. Nothing was malfunctioning. Everything was working perfectly, yet nothing made sense. It wasn't just a failure of equipment. This planet wasn't hiding its secrets from technology. It was ignoring technology altogether, as if it didn't care about the rules. The predator moved deeper into a crevice where the ground split open like a wound. The walls throbbed faintly, not with life, but with memory. Visions swam in its peripheral vision. Not images, feelings. Echoes of a hunter's pride turning sour. The air shimmered, though there was no atmosphere. This cloaking began to sputter. 1 second transparent, the next, half seen and disfigured, as if its outline couldn't be agreed upon by reality. Its armor's power cell surged, then drained, spiking between levels of energy it hadn't input. The environment was aware. It was manipulating variables like a sadistic child playing with settings on a simulation. A sound, faint but present, coiled around its mind. Not in its ears, but behind them. A whisper not meant for language, not meant for understanding. A suggestion of shape, a syllable too large for space. A presence that had no volume yet took up all dimensions. It turned sharply, instinct taking over, but there was nothing. Just the jagged spire of the planet's alien landscape, and a shadow that lingered without a source. The predator took cover, not out of caution, but for the first time in its existence, uncertainty. It wasn't fear, not yet, but the very nature of its target challenged its understanding of prey. It wasn't fleeing. It wasn't hunting. It was existing, and even that seemed to break the rules. What was it? Why was it here? Why did this place feel older than time, yet humming with something freshly awake? Suddenly, reality stuttered. Time fractured around it. One heartbeat became three. One step echoed backward and forward. It saw itself moving before it had moved. Then again after. Then again sideways. The predator let out a low, guttural growl and shut down its helmet entirely, blinking the HUD into silence. The whisper remained. Its world returned to near darkness, but even in its natural vision, something was off. Shapes moved in its blind spot, shapes that had no form, no edges. They didn't move through space. They redefined it as they passed. The predator raised its spear. It didn't throw it. It tried to, but the weapon refused motion, as if time had stalled mid-command. Then, with a snap, reality resumed, and the spear launched into the blackness, only to dissolve into static in midair. The predator was not afraid of death. It was bred for it. But now it began to feel something worse. Inadequacy. Its prey was not prey. The senses couldn't track it. Its weapons couldn't touch it. Even its presence here seemed irrelevant. The entity, whatever it was not avoiding the predator. It was considering it. The feeling crept in slowly, like rot under armor. This wasn't a hunt. It was an examination. And then it showed itself. Not fully, not in any conventional sense. But the sky bent. Stars blinked out as though a great mass passed before them. Yet no shape could be defined. The predator looked up, and its mind fractured. For the first time it screamed. A sound never heard from its kind since the days of first blood. What it saw wasn't an image. It was a concept, a hole in understanding, a knot in the logic of being. Its mind recoiled, its instincts failed. The hunter dropped to one knee, trembling. The being moved again, closer or maybe through. The planet quaked, though nothing touched it. Mountains wept black light. The predator, shaking, tried to rearm its shoulder cannon. Nothing responded. It activated its self-destruct, desperate, confused. The countdown began. But the moment it reached one, the device simply unhappened. It was never there. Time bent, the charge unwound, and the predator's last resort was swallowed. It ran. Every step shifted reality. The terrain changed beneath its feet. Canyons became spirals, plateaus became pits. Direction lost meaning. It wasn't sure if it was running toward or away anymore. It leaped a chasm that was no longer there and landed on terrain it hadn't seen before, though it remembered it. Somehow, it was being toyed with. The entity didn't want to kill the predator. Not immediately. It was curious, like a child watching an ant try to escape a maze of thought. And then silence. The world paused. The predator stood still, chest heaving, armor flickering, its cloaking now fractured, its weapons inert. The entity was here, all around. The predator dropped its blade, not in surrender, in recognition that this wasn't war. It wasn't the hunt. This was something else. A shift in air, a whisper behind the eyes. And then it understood, not with language, not with logic. With revelation. The entity wasn't hunting it. It was dreaming it. This entire reality. This whole plane. The planet. The pursuit. The fear. All manifestations of a being that did not perceive as life did. The predator was inside it, an idea being explored, studied. An ancient mind stretching its limits by forming this interaction. What was the predator to it? A probe? A mirror? Or simply a fleeting figment in an eternal sleep? And just as quickly, the moment passed. The predator awoke on its ship. Systems rebooted. Coordinates realigned. PX-41 Theta no longer existed on any chart. A dream? A simulation? a manipulation. Its armor was scorched, its weapons slightly altered, as if rebuilt from memory. Its recording logs corrupted beyond repair. But one thing remained. In its mind, in its memory, in every neuron it had, a mark. Not physical, not traceable, but a scar in consciousness. A lingering sense that something had touched it, reached into its core, and left it changed. The predator did not speak of this. Not to its clan, not to its elders, but it never hunted the same way again. Its trophies grew fewer, more symbolic. It became quieter, more reverent, because it now knew there are things in the universe no heat signature can detect, no blade can pierce, and no strength can defeat. Beings that do not live in reality, but create it, wear it like skin, and discard it when it frays. And it knew, deep in its alien soul, that the entity had not shown its full face. Not yet, because the most chilling truth wasn't that the predator had encountered such a cosmic horror. It was that it might not be the only one.